when is it hard to notice worry as worry?
Let's see. Well, I mean, it's hard if I'm like in a physical state, like PMSing, where I'm really weepy and emotional. That's one example where it's hard. And sometimes I recognize that I recognize the cues, but don't respond to them as I know I should. And then I recognize that I did that wrong, which is good, right? It's not nothing.
Do you have compassion on yourself in that moment, or more criticism?
I don't have too much criticism. So that's one thing I've got going for me. So yeah, what else is hard? I mean, it's definitely easier when I don't have any kind of evidence lying around that anything bad is about to happen. So if I was supposed to get on the plane to Thailand tomorrow, I would definitely be maybe wanting to stick with that rumination, because I would think that there is something I could do to keep myself safe, and that my worry could serve a purpose.
So are there any, bringing that into the present moment, are there any times where it feels useful to worry about or ruminate about your son?
It did, before I realized that the only things that I was using that were for safety behaviors. Like, I would worry, and then I would choose to keep worrying because I thought, there's products I could buy, or I used to be on the phone with the pediatrician like once a week for his first year and a half of life. So for example, like that, like, I could go buy a medicine, or I could call or email the doctor. And so if I ruminate, then that could lead to that, or I could buy something on Amazon that would help us. I could pack something on the car that would prevent this from whatever. But now I know that if rumination leads to me wanting to do something like that's only going to make me worse, and keep up this belief that this really is a threat to my life, and it is something that needs my attention, and it's something that needs to be prevented at all costs.
And can you summarize what you shifted your narrative to, or your belief system to?
Now I know that. So one of the exposures that I have on the Anxiety Challenger app is just a little paragraph to myself that I just read, and it says, "You are afraid of. You are in the bad habit of believing that stomach upset and vomit is a threat to your lives and a threat to your family, and it is not the threat that you think it is." And it says, like, I've been trying to keep myself safe and happy, and instead I have made myself miserable. And so I'm choosing to try something different, because that has not worked, and I need to try something that does work. So I'm taking it on faith that not doing those safety behaviors, not ruminating and not buying things on Amazon and calling the doctor will help, because it'll help convince my brain, or rewire, retrain me to think that it's just something. It's not everything. It's not life-threatening. It's just a piece of life where it's uncomfortable, and then it ends. It's not forever, and it's not something to be avoided at all costs.
I totally agree. How'd you feel as you said that?
It's hard, because I definitely, there's pieces of me that doesn't agree. There's a big piece of me that says, no, it is something to be avoided at all costs, and I won't go to maybe I won't go to Thailand. Maybe I'll get out of it, or, oh, this is horrendous. I kind of think, maybe the vaccines won't work, and we won't be able to travel because COVID won't be over. And that's a horrible thing to think. But there's a piece of me that's like, but then I don't have to go to Thailand.
It's okay to have that thought. And can you feel that loosening up, like comparatively to when we first started working together? Is your palpable belief that stomach upset isn't a threat to your life, is that feeling more real than it did several weeks or months ago?
Yes. Yeah. Uh, and I'm trying to think why.
So, because you're not reinforcing it.
Yeah.
So you're losing the belief that that's a threat to your life because you're choosing not to behaviorally reinforce it or reinforce it in your thinking.
Yeah.
So if you keep that up over the course of the year, there's really good reason to believe that you'll no longer be afraid of it by the time you go to Thailand.
That's really hopeful. So now I just have to believe in myself that I can keep doing it, that I can
Yeah.
keep doing it because it's like it's like a nice comfy bed that you're supposed to get out of and start working and you just want to crawl back into it sometimes. You're like, but it's really warm in there and I was there for 8 hours. I just want to get back. And so I just have to make sure that I don't do that in the next year and crawl back to my safety behaviors.
Yeah, it's a great point that people obviously recognize that safety behaviors are causing them suffering, but there are things that are in any given moment they're comforting, even though in the long term they make it worse. So if you
Yeah,
continue to remind yourself, I have to try something new because what I was doing before wasn't working.
constantly. Yeah, because some of us are more stubborn than others. And what's that term? Immediate gratification. I I used to be, I feel like I used to be self-disciplined, or I learned that like growing up. I learned to delay gratification. And then as I got older, and just more afraid, I think I chose immediate gratification instead. So I feel like I've reverted back to like a child, and that me and my son are going to have to learn to delay gratification together. That I'm going to have to relearn it as he learns it anew. Because, yeah, you're right. I need to do this for my future self, even if in the moment it just feels so, so good to like, take Dramamine or call the doctor or whatever.
Yeah, all of those are great points. Well, it sounds like you have your plan set out for you.
Mm.
Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Anything else you want to say before we close?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. All the best to you.
Thanks.